Hello and welcome to the industry analysis video for the February 2017 operational case study exam, where the case company is Mavis Venderby. Now in this video we're going to be looking at the industry analysis document, which is a document that you will be able to go through in your own time at your own leisure. You may want to go through that more thoroughly. What we're going to do in this video is focus on some of the most important areas of the document that we've put together here in order to give you a good idea of the actual beehive manufacturing industry and in order to prepare you for the actual exam in February. So let's get started on that. So we'll begin with the history of beehives, and the most important thing to take away from this is that there are two main kinds of beehives. You have natural beehives. This is the kind that a bee colony will make in their natural environment, perhaps in the side of a tree or in a cave. These are natural beehives, the way that bees have made them time immemorial. And you have artificial beehives, and these are hives made by humans in order to keep bees and use them in the production of honey and perhaps beeswax as well. So those are the two main kinds. You have an example here of what a natural beehive might look like, and here's a kind of classic example of a man-made beehive. And what we're focusing on with regards to Mavis Venderby are the artificial beehives, because we're looking at a beehive manufacturer and retailer. Another relevant point to make here is the kind of bees that are actually used in beekeeping. So of all the bees that there are about 20,000 species of bee. Only two kinds of bee are actually used in the production of honey and beeswax, and these are the two kinds of honeybees, the western honeybee and the eastern honeybee. And these are the only two bees that humans can use to make honey. So beekeeping itself goes back several thousand years to ancient civilizations. It goes back as far as ancient Egypt, where there is evidence of hives and beekeeping there. But it's not until much later on that we actually get any kind of sense of commercial beekeeping. And when we do get to commercial beekeeping, we find that the certain kind of hive is by far the most popular kind of hive. And let's look at these modern hives here. So there are basically two kinds of modern hive in use. We have the Langstroth hive, and this is probably the most popular kind used in commercial beekeeping these days. This is the one you've probably seen yourself when you've seen beehives. And this is a movable frame hive. That means that the frames are movable. The entire frame, that is the wooden kind of border, and then the foundation in the middle. The whole thing is movable. This is the most popular kind of hive, and these are the kind of hives that Mavis Venderby produced. And the other kind is the top bar hive, and in this case it's the comb that's movable. As you can see in this image here, the bees actually create the honeycomb themselves and they build it across horizontally, whereas in the Langstroth style frame, the beeswax sort of foundation is already provided for them on which to build. Now, the main benefits of a Langstroth hive is that it's very easy to use in industry. It makes removing the frame a lot easier, and it makes the hive overall easier to kind of break down into its constituent parts, and it's replaceable. It's a much more versatile kind of hive. And with the top bar hive, we find that actually the benefits of a top bar hive is that it's more closely aligned to how bees naturally create hives in their natural environment. So in that sense, it is a more kind of economical way to allow bees to produce an environment in which they are most efficient. Now there are other kinds of hive, but really these are the only two worth mentioning. And the interesting point here, the way to kind of apply this to Mavis Venderby, is to say, well, we know they only produce Langstroth hives, and that's obvious, they're kind of more widely used in industry, but they don't currently make top bar hives, and there is an argument here to say that maybe this is a potential area for a new product, as it offers certain benefits that the Langstroth hive can't offer, and particularly putting that in accordance with the fact that there is a general increase in popularity for more natural ways of farming, and that includes beekeeping. So among hobbyist beekeepers and some commercial beekeepers, they're going to be looking for ways of doing their beekeeping in a way that best suits the bees, so that they yield higher kind of crops of honey and of beeswax. Okay, so those are the main kinds of hives, and those are the ones we're going to be coming across again and again. An important thing to note is that the modern beehive has not really changed significantly during the 20th and 21st century. It's kind of, once the Langstroth hive had been patented, it became very popular. It became the most widely used kind of hive, and there hasn't been much tinkering in that area since. It's kind of stayed as the most popular. And that brings us on to the next point of polystyrene hives looking to the future. Now, polystyrene hives are mentioned in the pre-scene as something that some competitors of Mavis Venderby's are starting to deal with, but Mavis Venderby themselves haven't started to do anything with polystyrene hives yet. And the main benefit of a polystyrene hive is, well, there are several, so let's just look at them here. So one is that it is lighter, it is cheaper to produce, and it has better insulation properties compared to wood. It also is going to last better in the colder winter months or in wetter climates. Wood is liable to rot, whereas polystyrene can endure through those kind of conditions. So we can perhaps start to see here that beehives may be coming up to a kind of revolution. We know that the modern beehive as it stands, the Langstroth hive, has been around for a long time, unchallenged, and now with the introduction of polystyrene hives and perhaps a trend towards more economically or environmentally friendly beekeeping with the top bar hive, we're going to see more kinds of hives introduced and different styles of hives introduced. So how does this relate to Mavis Venderby? Well, as we know from the pre-scene, Mavis Venderby are based in Tuckland, which have a temperate climate. This means that it is likely to be fairly wet at some point throughout the year. They're likely to have winter and sort of autumn seasons that have its fair share of rainfall. And we also know that Mavis Venderby sell all of their hives within Tuckland, and so there may be call for the beekeepers of Tuckland to want more durable, sustainable hives, such as the poly hive that we've seen above. So it certainly seems as though Mavis Venderby will at least have to consider getting involved in polystyrene hives, and that seems like something that could easily come up in the exam as a kind of a new project idea for you to evaluate. Okay, so moving on, there's an interesting point to be made here about harvesting. So the way that honey is harvested from a frame is that they are spun on a kind of centrifuge, and that is the way that the honey is got out of the frame. And this means that empty frames often can be reused again so long as they are not damaged. So we have this kind of sense of renewability, sustainability of frames, although it's likely that the foundation is going to be damaged in that centrifuge. So there may be kind of area here for Mavis Venderby to investigate in making a kind of reusable foundation that isn't broken or damaged every time a harvest comes around. That would certainly be a very valuable product to their customers. We can also see here that actually creating honeycomb involves a significant energy investment. It takes a lot from a production point of view to actually make honeycomb. So we know that actually Mavis Venderby produce their own foundations which do have a kind of honeycomb in them, and so we may need to reconsider whether this is worth the production effort that Mavis Venderby are putting into it. It might be easier and cheaper for them to buy in foundation rather than kind of produce it in-house from the beeswax and the wire frame that they use in their production process. For those of you who haven't watched the other videos, let's just quickly go through the main components of a modern hive. So you have the hive stand, bottom board, brood box, honey super, frames and foundation. This is the thing that we're talking about here, the foundation. So the foundation is the kind of the where all the action happens. That's where the honey is stored, that's where the honeycomb is, that's where the honey is taken from. And these are the kind of the things that go into the beehive where the bees create their honey. And the rest of it is just kind of component parts of the hive. So you have the actual hive stand, which is kind of the legs that keeps it up from the ground. You have the bottom board, which is the entrance for the bees. The brood box is the lowest box of the hive. You have the super, and the rest of these aren't too important. What really matters is the important part here is the foundation, because of the fact that Mavis Venderby make them in-house, and as we've said, that's a significant energy investment. It may be cheaper for them to find an alternative for this. Okay, so while we're talking about products, we should probably talk about some of the other important beekeeping products that are available. So one is the bee smoker, and you can see that on the right there. This is used to calm the bees, to get them away from the honey so it can be extracted from the hive by the beekeeper safely. This is something that is widely used in beekeeping, but it's the kind of thing that Mavis Venderby don't currently sell. And the same goes for other accessories such as the bee veil or the bee suit. This is a very important part of beekeeping. It protects the beekeeper from the bees and getting stung, and so Mavis Venderby could potentially sell these kind of accessories alongside their hives, and it seems like they would quite likely do some business there, particularly with new hobbyist beekeepers who are new to the hobby, to beekeeping, and perhaps will be buying these things for the first time along with their hive. So in terms of the product life cycle of the beehive then, if we're just summing up, it does seem that the beehive is at a stage where it's ready to kind of diversify into different styles of beehive. We've seen a long, stable, past sort of century or so with this one kind of hive that has become the standard, but with the introduction of polyhives and perhaps top bar hives and perhaps other production methods, ways of making the sort of more classic hive more durable or more reusable, then we may see that beehives kind of expand out and go into many different ways here. And that is relevant for Mavis Venderby because they need to keep on top of these developments in the market to make sure that they aren't left behind. Okay, so we're going to move on now to think a bit about some of the customers in the beekeeping industry and the general state of the overall marketplace. All that remains for me to say really is thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. And I'll just tell you a few quick things now about some of the other things that we offer here at Astranti. So one of the things is the study text. We've got the full range of study text for every single paper that you can take in CIMA, from E1 to E3, F1 to F3, P1 to P3. We have a study text for every single one, and our study texts are great. They're full of diagrams and examples and nice, easy to use real life industry examples, and it's very easy and simple for anyone to read. They were specifically designed so that anyone can sort of pick them up and get through them. And to accompany that, we also have our course videos that are based around the study text, so you could you could be reading the study text and then you could watch the course video on that particular chapter at the same time, and you'll have gotten a thorough, comprehensive knowledge of that particular area of the syllabus as well. This is completely wrong. All that remains for me to say is thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And I'll just take a few moments of your time, if I could, to just tell you about some of the other case study materials that we offer. So one of the things is a study text. Now this is a study text specifically aimed at the case study, and we have one for each level. So we have an operational, management and strategic level one, and they're designed to help you pass the study. They're in two halves. The first half is exam tips and exam strategy and advice on how to answer questions and all the really useful kind of tips that you need going into these exams and how to prepare for them. And then the second half, the second part of those, is a recap of the key theory that always comes up in the case studies again and again. So those are really useful, really valuable thing that you can get. Those are available online, and you can get an actual textbook, a printed physical textbook for the old-fashioned among you who like to do it that way still. We also have course videos that correspond with that study text as well. So we have a series of really nicely well-produced, well-done videos in which we basically take you through exactly what's involved in the case study and how you can spend your time preparing for it to ensure that you get really good marks. It's really, really great series of videos there. We've got the pre-scene analysis, which the video you just watched is an example of the pre-scene analysis, and there'll be several more videos just like that where we look at every tiny detail of the pre-scene and we relate it back to the P1 or F1 or E1, and we relate it to real life scenarios, relate it to actual business and analysis tools, and we give you the what we expect to be the top 10 issues. Another thing that we do is slightly different is the industry analysis, and that is this is a really great document in which we basically cover everything that's relevant to the industry for the particular business that we're looking at. And it goes from their history through to the customers and suppliers and the market and how the market has functioned and the history of that. And we've got statistics in there and diagrams, and it's full of information. It's so useful. And at the end of that pack, we also have 25 actual industry examples. So real life things that have happened in that industry that kind of examples of things that might actually happen to to the company in the exam. So it gives you a sense of the kind of things that are going on in the industry and how real life businesses in that industry have coped with it. We have mock exams, which are, if you were going to pick any one of these to do, I would suggest it was the mock exams, because nothing prepares you for the exam more than actually sitting a mock exam. And if I were a student taking this, I would certainly put mock exams at the top of my list, along with marking and feedback. Now, our mock exams are actually designed to match the way that the actual CIMA exams are, so you can sit them on your laptop and they'll be timed and automatic, and they are as close as you are going to get to the real thing. And you can get marking and feedback on that as well, which is probably the most valuable thing you could probably get. To get specific feedback from a marker who deals with this exam 4 times a year, that's the best way for you to improve your ability to pass this exam as quickly as possible. We also have a masterclass. So as an online company, we hold an online masterclass which you can sign up for, and it's a day over the weekend. We do the Saturday and a Sunday, and it's a full day's worth of we have an expert who takes an online seminar, and we go through everything specific to that case study that you can do to get prepared for the exam, and we cover all sorts, and it's very, very popular among students who like a one-on-one kind of classroom environment in an online situation. We also offer pass guarantee, so if you're unlucky enough to not pass your exam the first time round, then there's no worries, because we give you the option. If you choose a pass guarantee option, then as long as you hit all the minimum requirements that we ask, and you don't pass, then you get access to our materials for the next sitting completely free of charge. So there's something that we're doing to try and get you. Hopefully, if you signed up to our course and you do everything that we say you should do, then you probably will pass first time. That tends to be the way it goes. But if you should be unfortunate, if it's a particularly tough exam, then we'll let you have another go for free. So that's it. Thanks again for watching. Remember, my name is James. You can find me on Facebook, James Nutting Astranti, where I'll be posting all sorts of information about the upcoming exam in February. Make sure you check that out because there's always something to talk about with regards to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.